Okay, so the Eagles just got a surprising update ahead of their matchup with the Cowboys, and nobody expected it, as even though the Birds could possibly be set to get several key players back from injury this week, their offense still could take a major hit, as they just got some somewhat worrying news regarding one of their best offensive weapons. Meanwhile, we also just got a big update on Cowboys star Micah Parsons, while multiple guys, including Jalen Hurts, spoke on the upcoming matchup in Dallas, and the Eagles are also dealing with a number of other surprise injuries leading into the game. So we're going to talk about that and all the other latest Eagles news starting right now. What's up, guys? Welcome to the Philly Fan 21 channel. If you're new, I'm Evan, and I cover all things Philadelphia Eagles. And we are just a few days away from the Birds matchup with the Cowboys down in Texas, and what no doubt is going to be a really exciting matchup. I mean, it's the Eagles and the Cowboys, the best rivalry in football, so of course this is going to be a very fun game, especially since it seems like the Eagles have the upper hand heading into it, as the Birds are 6-2 and one of the hottest teams in football, while the Cowboys have lost 3 straight games, are 3-5, and they won't have their starting quarterback in this one either, which to me, that's honestly kind of a bummer, because I'd love to beat the Cowboys at full strength on the road, and there's no denying that not having Dak does give the Eagles a little bit more of an edge. But at the same time, they can't take his replacement lightly, as Cooper Rush is a guy who has had plenty of success in this league before, mainly with the Cowboys when he has had to step in as Dak's replacement, so he still definitely can present a challenge if he's on his game and he gets into a rhythm. And of course, when talking about Cooper Rush, we have to remember that a lot of his best moments came under Eagles offensive coordinator Kellen when he was in Dallas, so he knows what challenges the backup quarterback can present, and on Tuesday, Kellen talked about those challenges in his weekly press conference.
Coop's a really smart player. He has a great feel for the game, anticipation, vision, feel for what the defense is doing. I think he puts himself in a really good position. He can handle volume from an offensive game plan perspective. Obviously, when Coop's gone in there, he's had success, and so it'll still be a challenge for us.
I honestly think that Cooper Rush is probably one of the better backup quarterbacks in this league, so again, even with Dak out, the Eagles are going to have to be ready. That being said, though, we also can't act like the Cowboys are going to be just as good offensively without their starting quarterback, and it's also not like they've been great offensively with Dak in there either, as while they are ranked second in the league in passing, overall, they're just 14th in yards and 20th in points, plus they have the second worst rushing attack in the entire NFL, so they already have their weaknesses to begin with, and then obviously with Dak out, their biggest strength, which is passing the ball, takes a big hit as well. So for the Eagles defense, this is yet another favorable matchup and a chance to continue building that momentum that they've had these past few weeks. But then offensively for the Eagles, they should have a very favorable matchup as well, as the Cowboys have one of the worst defenses in the entire league, and they're not really particularly good at anything. Yet these deficiencies didn't stop several Eagles players, including Jalen Hurts, from praising the Cowboys on both sides, but specifically defensively when given the chance.
I mean, it's Dallas, man. Them boys always got a good line, always gonna play us hard. Defense flies around. It always seems faster out there in Dallas, so we gotta make sure that we go out there, bring our intensity to the game, and make sure that we keep it all the way throughout the game.
Well, they got really good talent. You know, they've had really good talent over the years, competing against them. I think they got great DBs, and obviously up front, the way they rush the passer, they do that really well. Always have done that really well, and so we just got to come in ready. Keyed in on our assignments and, expecting a tough one.
The Cowboys certainly always do play the Eagles very hard, no matter who's out there. So again, I'm not going to act like this game is going to be super easy, but that said, things are certainly in the Eagles' favor with some of the injuries the Cowboys are currently dealing with heading into the game to guys like Dak Prescott and CeeDee Lamb, whose status is in question after suffering a shoulder injury in the last game. Combined with the struggles that they've already had this year just out on the field with their play aside from the injuries. But on the bright side for the Cowboys, it does at least seem like they are on track to see star edge rusher Micah Parsons make his return this Sunday, as he's been out ever since suffering an ankle injury in week 4, but on Wednesday he was back at practice in limited fashion for the first time, and again all signs point to him making his return to action on Sunday. And obviously this is a great thing for the Cowboys, as we know just how good Parsons is and just how much he does for their defense and pass rush, and Jalen Hurts knows that too, as he made these comments about Parsons on Wednesday.
Those guys are great players on the edge, so it's always different when you're in absence of a great player. And so you got to prepare for whoever is going to go out there and play. But ultimately, we know those guys are game changers, and we got to come ready.
It is no secret that Micah Parsons presents a huge challenge for any offense, so the Eagles are going to have to be ready. Luckily, they have Lane Johnson, who probably has been the best tackle in the league so far to help counteract him, And in the past, we know that Lane has been able to have a ton of success against Micah and shut him down. So hopefully that continues this Sunday, assuming Parsons does play and he's not able to have much of an impact at all. But while we just highlighted that Lane has been phenomenal this year, how about Mekhi Becton, who has just been an absolute steal for the Birds so far this season? As he's played at a really high level as this team's starting right guard, and this past week against the Jaguars, he was phenomenal, as he was the highest graded offensive lineman in the entire NFL by PFF with a 94.9 grade. So that's certainly very impressive, and while this obviously was Becton's best game of the year, it isn't the only time that he's had a really good performance. So again, safe to say he's been a great offseason addition on a one-year deal, and now I'm at a point where I really would not mind seeing the Eagles go out and try and sign him to an extension for the right price, because he's just been that good. And on Wednesday, Becton was actually asked about a possible extension and whether he's thought about it or not, and this is what he said.
I try not to think ahead, because this is real personal, but I got real bad anxiety, so if I think ahead, I mess my own brain up. So I try not to just stay where I'm at, stay where my feet is at, so I try not to think ahead.
You've been able to do that pretty well.
Yeah, I've been doing good on that.
While this is definitely a serious topic, I do think it's nice to hear Becton open up about something like that, and I also think that with or without the anxiety as a factor, it's good that Becton has just been staying in the present and locked in on what he has to do right now. But if you will remember all the way back to OTAs, Becton did say that he loves Philly and would love to stay here long term, so hopefully he continues to play well, do what he needs to do to earn an extension, and maybe by the end of the season, him and the Birds can figure something out. But again, for now, what's important for Becton and the rest of the Eagles is just going to be getting ready to play in Dallas and hopefully coming away with a win. And that's something that the Eagles haven't been able to do in a very long time, as the last time they were able to get a win down in Jerry World was the 2017 season. So the Eagles will be looking to flip that trend with a win this Sunday. And while there has been noise surrounding the Eagles' struggles playing down in Dallas, none of the Eagles are really buying into it.
Obviously, we haven't won there since I've been here, but like that doesn't mean anything to us. Like if you're worried about, like, unless it was something like the weather or the dome or what that was, like you felt like we just got to go out there and play a good game against a good football team.
I mean, it's just a place. They've always been a great team. So it's always been a great opponent. They always been a great solid team. So we just got to go in there and just do our job. And, the other years that was going on that they ain't win, that's different. Like, this is 2024, so it could always be different. So, we hopefully going in there and make it look different. But we're going in there just to go in there and execute, play fast, and try to come out there with a dub.
When you look at it, I mean, every time we went down there, we were trying to win. We just came up short. But, this time around, we can only worry about now. And I think, this time around, we got a good shot.
Glad to hear the Eagles aren't buying into any of this talk, although I don't think any of us really thought that they would. And it really is just like any other game, as if they prepare the way they need to prepare and then they come out on Sunday and execute their game plan and just play at a high level, then they should definitely be able to come out with a win in this game. Oh, and by the way, the last time the Eagles won in Dallas, they went to the Super Bowl, so not saying that's what's going to happen if they win on Sunday, but I'm also not saying that's not what's going to happen either. But of course, as I said, first things first, they just got to focus on getting a win in this game, and again, they look like they could be set up very nicely to do that. However, some recent injury news that just came out has the potential to make things a lot harder for the Birds and change this matchup pretty drastically, so don't worry, we're going to get into that in just a minute, but real quick, I do want to say, if you are enjoying this video and you don't want to miss any other Eagles coverage or content just like this coming through the rest of this entire season, then make sure you guys subscribe, and also really importantly, turn on notifications so you are notified instantly when one of these videos is uploaded. Trust me, you guys are not going to want to miss any of the Eagles coverage I got coming on this channel. I cover the Birds pretty much daily here, so if you want to stay up to date on all the latest Eagles news, this is the spot. So again, make sure you guys subscribe and hit the notification bell, and also while you're at it, make sure you drop a like to show some support. It really does help me out a ton. Let's see if we can get to 600 likes on today's video. And now, with all that being said, let's get back into the video. So to begin the week of practice, the Birds were anticipating some big injury updates on some of their key starters ahead of the Cowboys matchup, namely including AJ Brown, Dallas Goedert, and Darius Slay. And they got some, which I covered in my video yesterday, as all three of those guys were back at practice, which was great news. And after the injury report came out, we found out that Goedert was actually a full participant to begin the week, so that was definitely awesome to hear. And while all that was good news, what Eagles fans surely didn't anticipate is all the injury news to follow that. As when Wednesday's injury report did come out, there were a ton of new names on it, many of which either missed practice or were limited, and in total, there were 15 names on the report, which is just crazy. Now, let's start off with the guys that were limited, which included Saquon Barkley, Mekhi Becton, AJ Brown, Bryce Huff, Jalen Hurts, Fred Johnson, Cam Jurgens, Darius Slay, Anaya Smith, Josh Sweat, and Jeremiah Trotter Jr. And obviously, a lot of those names are surprises, as as we just simply didn't know they were dealing with injuries. Now thankfully, Barkley and Hurts were just limited because they were being rested, so nothing's wrong with them, and that also does make me think that maybe a lot of these other guys could also have just been getting rest as well, but are just listed with little nagging injuries that otherwise would go unreported. And of course, some of these guys being on here is good news, like AJ Brown, Bryce Huff, and Darius Slay, as they all seem to be trending towards playing after being injured previously. But I will admit, it is still a little bit unnerving to see all these new names added to the injury report with guys like Becton, Cam Jorgens, and Josh Sweat, since we in no way knew that they were dealing with these injuries. But you would have to imagine that with them being limited early in the week, they should probably be good to go for Sunday, but it'll still definitely be something to monitor as the week goes on. Oh, and the scary news doesn't stop there, as the Eagles also had a few key players missing from practice that were out with some surprise injuries. And let's start with edge rusher Nolan Smith, as he was one of the guys who missed practice on Wednesday, as he was held out with a groin injury. And this definitely isn't ideal, as a groin is one of those injuries that you really got to keep an eye on and could become serious if not handled properly, or it could nag on for a long period of time. And Nolan is a guy who has obviously been getting better and better and better as the season has gone on, so if he can't go Sunday, that not only sucks for him as he's been gaining momentum recently, but it also sucks for the Eagles defense as he's just been a really valuable and productive piece for them in recent weeks. But to make matters worse, one of the Eagles' most crucial offensive players was out with an injury as well, as DeVonta Smith missed Wednesday's practice with a hamstring injury that seemingly came out of nowhere. And this is terrible news for multiple reasons. One, because we obviously know how important DeVonta is to the Eagles offense and how good he's been recently, but also hamstring injuries have really decimated the Eagles this year at times. Dallas Goedert obviously was just out for a long time with one, but is now coming back. AJ Brown missed time with one earlier in the season that he suffered during practice, and Jordan Mailata is still obviously on IR because of a hamstring injury that he picked up back in the Browns game. So this type of injury is not one to mess around with. Now obviously, we don't know the severity of this one with DeVonta Smith, but him missing from practice to begin the week is definitely not a good sign, and that combined with the fact that it is a hamstring injury doesn't exactly make me feel super confident that he's going to even play on Sunday. And if he didn't, that would obviously change things drastically for the Eagles offense, but the week obviously isn't over and we'll just have to wait and see what happens. And now, of course, just as I'm about to upload this video, the Eagles did just get some good news, being that both DeVonta Smith and Nolan Smith were back at practice today in some capacity, so that's definitely a good sign for their status moving into Sunday's game. That being said though, hamstrings and groin injuries, like I said, are still not anything to mess around with, so we'll see what happens. We'll just have to wait and see how things play out today and tomorrow, but again, this is definitely a good sign that both those guys are practicing. And of course, you guys already know that I'm going to be continuing to cover all the Eagles news leading into the matchup with the Cowboys, so again, if you guys don't want to miss any of that, make sure you subscribe and turn on notifications, and also drop a like to show some support if you did enjoy this video. Again, guys, it really does help me a ton, and it's completely free, so go hit the like button. Let's see if we can get to 600 likes today, and also leave a comment down below just regarding anything that I talked about in this video. And if you want to watch another Eagles video going over some news from earlier in the week, you can check this out right here. And now with all that being said, that's pretty much all I got for this one, guys, so thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.